And so the issue with trauma is that you have these limbic reactions all the time. Somebody hasn't done the dishes, somebody makes noise, somebody does something, and you become a limbic system person, and you blow up, and you brutalize people, and you shut down, and you become terrified, and you don't go out anymore. And so the question is, how can you open up traumatized people to feel safe in their bodies and to see other possibilities, and so that when you hear a certain sound, you say, oh, that may be a car backfiring, it may be a gun going off, it may be something, but don't to jump to the conclusion that somebody is getting killed. And when somebody touches you on your shoulder, you don't say, oh my God, I'm getting raped, but you can say, maybe somebody is happy to see me, maybe some old geezer is falling over and needs a little support, maybe he's trying to rape me, let me find out. So it's all about opening up the capacity for imagination. So your brain can learn to reinterpret things again. And when you understand traumatic stress, then the things that I'm trying to teach people is not so weird at all. Then doing yoga makes perfect sense. Because when you're a traumatized person, a lot of sensations in your body are terrifying sensations. And you don't want to have any feelings in your body. And so what yoga can do is to open yourself up to yourself and to make it safe to lie on the ground and to breathe, which is not for them. To feel it safe to do a pelvic hip opener, which is terrifying if you have been traumatized. And to learn to breathe and not have your body go into panic all the time. If the issue is a lack of imagination, then maybe the theater programs that I'm such a fan of do make perfect sense. That a program like what the Shakespeare & Company is doing in the Berkshires, where juvenile delinquents have a choice between being condemned to prison or to become a Shakespearean actor, does make very good sense. Because when you're a frightened, angry, terrified, fucked up kid, and you need to play a role of being Brutus in Julius Caesar, or being Othello, you get to feel, oh, that is what it feels like to be a powerful person. That is what it feels like to be a knave, and to own the words and the language and the bodily attitudes and positions of being something other than that frightened, abandoned, terrified, traumatized, angry little kid that you've grown up to be. To my mind, theater is sort of one of the kings of trauma therapy. But in order to really appreciate it, you have to know something about the brain. And this is our brain. And if you introduce yourself and you say to me, hi, my name is Jennifer, I think to myself, very nice. The name of this little part of your brain over here is called Jennifer. It has language, and it has stories to tell, and it has a history, has ideas, has all kind of interesting things to offer. The rest of her brain, she has no control over. Whether she likes me or not, it just happens. You don't decide whether you like somebody. Whether she gets hungry or not, it's not up to you. Whether certain things piss her off, it's not up to her, it just happens. Whether she's able to sleep tonight or not, it's not up to her, it just happens. Whether things frighten her, not up to her, because all these things are located in this part of the brain. And this part of the brain is shaped by experience, it's determined by experience, it's much more profoundly determined by experience than by genetics. If you ever want me to come give a talk about it, I'd be happy to. Because all the research funding these days goes into genetics. I liked the last talk about racism. You know, it's a much deeper scientific issue. All of our scientific money goes into genetics. Why does it go into genetics? Because we don't want to change how people raise their kids, our school systems, and our social conditions. Because when we really countenance how our social conditions are totally messing up millions of people and make them mentally ill, that means that we have to change something. So it's so much more fun to study genetics. Nice laboratories, little rats, pets, nice graduate students. Boy, so fun. It won't do any of us any good, but it's good for if you run a laboratory. I know, because I also run a laboratory. So I know that life. So trauma sits here, and then sits in this limbic system and your frontal lobe, and it sits in how you interpret things. I'm missing something. I'm good. This is the one I wanted to show. For a second. So essentially, our brain sort of contains layers. And the layer that we come into the world with is our reptilian brain. When you have a little baby, go see babies. It's always great to see where you come from. The babies are still alive, and the same organization is still running the show part of the time. And what can babies do? They can be awake, they can be asleep, they can eat, they can poop, they can pee, they can breathe, they can smile, they can suck. And that's about it. And we're programmed to find that cute. It's good. And then we move beyond it as fast as we can. But when you get traumatized, that's the stuff that gets messed up. But we want to stay in people's heads and talk about meaning and larger moral issues. No, so you can't sleep, and you don't poop for 7 days, and you can't sleep, and you can't take care of the basic housekeeping with your body, you're nowhere. If you treat trauma, you've got to start in the basement. I don't know any psychology program, aside from us to some degree, that really teaches people how to take care of self-regulation issues in the basement of the brain, which is where the core of trauma resides. I didn't learn about it until I got invited to be at this weird yoga center in the western Massachusetts, to Kapalu, and I started to learn about yoga. I said, oh, these yogis, they have been paying attention to self-regulation for 5,000 years. It's interesting to call that alternative, because these people are really very good at doing some of the basic things you need to do in order to gain ownership of that crazy stuff that's sitting inside of you. So that's good. Next part of your brain is the limbic system. So that's the part of your brain that isn't active when you come into the world, and now gets shaped by experience. The brain is a use-dependent organ. And this part of your brain determines for you what feels safe, what feels dangerous, what is frightening, who you belong to, what you love, what's disgusting, and that's on the basis of experience. And so if you're a child who grows up being accustomed to walk into a room and the world smiles at you, you don't say to yourself, these people I serve are little lovey-dovey, overly Italian type people. I'm just a regular kid. There's 2 billion kids in the world and there's nothing special about me. No, when everybody smiles at you and loves you, you say, I'm great. And when you're 4 years old and your mom screams at you and said, look, you have done to me, you have made a drug addict out of me, I was perfectly fine until you were born, but because you're such a terrible child, I have become an alcoholic and my life is in ruins. That becomes your limbic system. And your limbic system says, I'm a terrible person who makes terrible things happen. Unfortunately, there are almost no pathways for your frontal lobe to your limbic system. And we know this from, as therapists, that our patients with childhood trauma all say, I'm a terrible person. I'm no good. I'm a piece of crap. And nice people like us start off saying, oh, you're wonderful. Look, let's do some cognitive treatment on you.